So, we've recreated the face of Charles II's mother, Mariana of Austria, as well as Charles II. Yet in this video, I will recreate the father of the family, Philip IV of Spain, as well as tell you more about his ordeals. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. Here on Mortal Faces, I recreate historic portraits to see how individuals we read about might have looked in real life, as well as talk a little bit about them. So thank you for watching, subscribe for more recreations, and let me know in the comments who you want to see in real life. Foreign visitors described him as being so impassive in public that he resembled a statue, and he was said to have been seen to laugh only 3 times in the course of his entire public life. Philip was a fine horseman, a keen hunter, and a devotee of bullfighting, which were all central parts of royal public life at court during this period. Privately, however, Philip appeared to have had a lighter persona. When he was younger, he was said to have a keen sense of humor and a great sense of fun. He privately attended academies in Madrid throughout his reign, which were light-hearted literary salons. Others have captured his private personality as naturally kind, gentle, and affable. Those close to him claimed he was academically competent with a good grasp of Latin and geography, and could speak French, Portuguese, and Italian well. He was also a patron of the arts and enjoyed the free-flowing spirits of paint and vision. The problem with Philip is that he inherited a huge empire that spans the known world, and with that came breakups, oppositions, factions, and feuds. As a more solemn leader, especially in his later years, he was viewed, certainly in the Victorian times, as stock-stilled, weak, and delegating excessively to his ministers. He was born the first son of Philip III of Spain, and his father was reputed as an insignificant, miserable monarch. So Philip was born his eldest son, and when he was 10, he married his 13-year-old cousin, Elizabeth of France. They would have 10 children, but only one surviving male child who lived until 16. Elizabeth died 2 years earlier, so that's when he had to find another wife, Mariana of Austria, his niece. Because he was so young, he was encouraged to take on mistresses by his advisor, Olivares, who wanted to keep power. He basically handed him women on a plate. This humiliated his first wife, Elizabeth, to the point that she conspired to have him fired, but that wouldn't be for another 20 years. In the meantime, it is rumored that he fathered at least 30 illegitimate children. Many were boys, but unfortunately, they did not count. After this, Elizabeth would die, and then he would marry his niece. With his niece, he fathered one son, who actually lived beyond his death when he died in 1665 at the age of 60. It was Charles II, who was born in 1661, which would have made Philip 56 years old at the time of this birth. Philip became a king when he was a teenager at 16, and the looming pressure of managing the world's largest empire, Olivares pushed him to work immediately, and he did not have time to grieve. The poor kid had to publicly mourn and break down in front of everyone, and this made Olivares shine as the support the king needed, and so Philip became essentially his puppet. Olivares wrapped his hands around Philip, making him paranoid to only think that Olivares was his true confidant. You see, Philip had great PR. He enjoyed a gleaming reputation despite his many mistresses, luxuries, and scandals. You see, with Philip, his reputation was that once he was done with a mistress, he sent them away to become a nun. It was so awful that one woman locked herself in a room and said, "I don't want to be a nun," in order to avoid him at all costs. On the outside, though, Philip was like a statue, which actually was a huge compliment and win for his image. The Spanish venerated stoicism in kings. As high and mighty as he seemed, all would come down. You see, when his wife Elizabeth died, it devastated him. Despite his affairs, he cared for Elizabeth in his own way, and even though a king, he was still just a man. At this point, he already lost a mother, a father, a brother, multiple babies, and a wife, then his sister, and then his only surviving legitimate son, Balthazar, Prince of Asturias. It was a horrible tragedy, and the 1640s were not kind to him. He knew what had to be done, and that's when he married his niece, of course, which was more political than anything, but she knew her duty However, history would repeat itself by producing girl after girl, one boy who lived until 3, and then finally Charles II. But despite the rejoice, he soon learned about his son's ill health, and he felt cursed, like it was all his fault. By 1665, all his confidants died around him, and he saw nothing but schemers anticipating his demise. Philip IV reigned through the majority of the 30 Years' War, which was a turbulent time in political history. It started out okay in the 1620s when he first became king, but as time went on, things became less favorable. In 1635, he was having at it with France, and that lasted until 1659, where Spain ended up losing. As a result, he signed the Treaty of Pyrenees, which was secured by giving his daughter up for marriage to his nephew, the Sun King. So his daughter and the Sun King were first cousins, and that's how Louis XIV of France got his first wife. Philip died in 1665, aged 60. Older now and exhausted, having drained himself to women, empire, and war, he died an uneasy man, knowing the empire lied in the hands of his poor son. Thanks to Philip III and Philip II, he inherited a kingdom so fixated on traditions that nothing but a great catastrophe could have altered them. Basically, Philip IV wasn't the best king, but he wasn't the worst either. Philip's life was stressful, and even beyond death, he wouldn't rest in peace. You see, his son had such a hard time producing an heir that his mother, along with advisors, agreed to dig him up and have poor Charles II
sleep with his dead papa, hoping it would do something.
And that brings us to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. I do have Charles II and his mother Mariana of Austria. They're recreations on my channel. Subscribe for more of these recreations. Each of your subscriptions does help this channel grow. It allows me to continue making more content for you. Let me know in the comments who you want to see next. I do make a list of all your suggestions, and I will see you in the next one.